Hi, my name is Danny DeQuisto. I serve as a pastor and elder at Redemption Church in Brookfield, Wisconsin. And this is our Redemption podcast, where we have all kinds of conversations about the life and ministry of our church. Today, I sit down with Nick Matula, who we've recently just hired as our first ever pastoral resident. I'm excited for you guys to meet and get to know him in this way. Here is our conversation. All right, I'm here with my new friend, Nick Matula. Nick, thank you for sitting down with me.
Yeah, glad to be here.
And spending some time talking a little bit. I'm excited for the church to get to know you more this way through this conversation and get to know you better myself as well. And so, I don't know if you remember, but I think you do remember. We first met at the Preachender.
Yeah.
It was a church event for men who were trying to grow in preaching. Mm-hmm. You know, we do the Simeon Trust Workshop every year down in Bristol. And then on the other end of that, one challenge with it is that guys don't often get a chance to actually go ahead and preach it. Mm-hmm. And so guys like yourself and a few others from our church came and did that. And I was actually in your group. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
You preached a sermon.
You gave me some good advice.
What was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. It wasn't that great then. But yeah, no, I do remember. And I remember meeting you and thought you did a great job. And so I was super encouraged when I started talking with your pastors at this point now, but soon to be former pastors, Dan and Kirk at Crossway, Milwaukee, where you are now. Mm-hmm. And they started telling me about this guy they had that was looking for a role in pastoral ministry. And we were kind of in a search for a couple different roles like that. And so to see your name resurface and reconnect with you was super encouraging. We recently finalized your official hiring as our pastoral resident. And so I wanted to just ask you, what is a what is that? What is a pastoral resident?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. I guess my view of what a pastoral resident would be is just a. I know you've delineated it as being a 1 to 2 year position, and I would agree with that. Is sort of a space for me to kind of get my feet wet in ministry a little bit more. Not that I haven't been involved in ministry, but more as a full-time thing, so I can kind of get a chance to explore some of the areas that I'm gifted at, and then hopefully long-term get to see where I might fit in best. And that's kind of my idea of what a pastoral resident would be.
That's absolutely right. Yep. A couple-year runway to really get some good experience, get more clarity on what kind of pastoral ministry you really feel uniquely gifted in and called to and passionate about, and sort of aiming to get a better long distance shot here.
Yeah, and I think I was thinking of one question that I probably still had is more of where you would envision this position going after that 1 to 2 years of sort of getting my feet wet.
Yeah, I think that's all kind of part of the process, really. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we've kind of delineated a handful of areas of responsibility. You know, we've talked a little bit about worship arts being a particular area of at least coordination and leadership. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of volunteers, and it's a great way to care for those members and serve that ministry. We need some organization there and leadership, mostly because of my own shortcomings in that area and the growing nature of it. But beyond that, I think that's part of it, is getting some teaching opportunities, seeing is that a particular desire, continued longing? To what extent would that factor into the equation? I know we've talked a little bit. You had some training in biblical care and counseling. Mm-hmm. Just so I think that's kind of the aim, is to kind of get a sense of which of these areas seem uniquely fit for you. I think we'll have a better sense over those couple years of the needs of the church, which if I've learned anything, it's we have no clue what they're going to be in a year or two's time. Yeah. And so we can kind of figure that stuff out together and cool. Do it in real time. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
That's great. So tell us a little bit about yourself just in general, Nick. Tell us about where did you grow up? What's your immediate family like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Kimberly, basically Appleton, Wisconsin, which is 30 minutes south of Green Bay. I went to school for my undergraduate at University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire for geology, actually. And then straight out of undergrad, I worked for a sand mine in Tomah, Wisconsin. I lived in La Crosse. That's where I met my wife, Olivia. And then she was wanting to pursue her second degree in nursing, so we moved to Milwaukee in July of 2020 after we got married, so she could attend Milwaukee School of Engineering and get that degree.
Mm-hmm.
I was working remote at the time and kind of attending the Moody Theological Seminary online while I was working. And then after, actually this last March, I kind of made a pivot from that position to the Milwaukee Rescue Mission, where I work on the New Journey program as an advocate. So I work for guys struggling with alcohol and drug use addiction. And so it's a 6-month program. So I work with a handful of guys, 10 to 12 guys, over the course of 6 months. Work through them and helping them, in one sense, counsel them in kind of the underlying heart issues that kind of lead to addiction, and hopefully prepare them for getting back on their feet after they complete that program. But overall, I just knew that wasn't where I was going to end up long term. My overall passion is just the local church and wanting to serve the congregation with the gifts that I've been given, and so that's kind of why I was still in the process of searching for a position while I was working at the Milwaukee Rescue Mission. And that's when I kind of landed on this position. I heard you guys had just moved to Brookfield, and we're probably going to be looking to hire someone down the road. And so once Stan kind of threw that position over at me, I thought it would be a good fit. So.
That's great, man. So if I could go way back to the beginning, you talked about Appleton a little bit.
Yeah.
You basically grew up. Tell me, what was that like? What happened when you grew up?
Yeah, I think Appleton. I mean, I think it's actually considered to be one of the hottest, most growing places in Wisconsin right now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I personally, I don't really care for it that much just because I grew up there. I think maybe I'm just a little biased, but yeah. But it was good. I attended an evangelical free church as a kid with my parents. Good church, and I think I don't know what else to say about Kimberly.
What about siblings?
Yeah. I have one brother who is 2 years older than me. I guess that would make him 31, and then he lives in New Mexico right now. And then I have one sister who lives in Tosa, actually. She's 4 years older than me, which would make her, trying to do the math here, 33.
Okay.
So we're not, over the course, I think we grew up pretty close, but over the course of just becoming independent adults, I think we've sort of kind of, we're no longer as close. I think my wife Olivia's family is much more close in terms
involved with each other on a regular
involving
basis.
trying to get together and hanging out and stuff like that. But
that's great. So you're the youngest.
I am. Yeah.
Me too.
Oh,
I'm the youngest. Yeah, I have 2 older sisters.
I was thinking just this morning that I think so there's a stigma that the youngest child always is like the most spoiled.
Yeah, that's
I was thinking because I have a newborn daughter. And I was thinking of my future kids, like would she think that my youngest is spoiled? And I think it's just because perhaps they just see the parents just focusing on the newborn child,
right,
and thinking that they just get more attention.
Sure.
When they were that young, they got just as much attention,
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, my wife and I are actually both youngest, and both of us have said, like, in some ways, it's also this dynamic of like, the reins are a little looser by the time you get to the third kid. Yeah. Like when you have a second kid and a third kid, it's like you kind of been there, you've done it, you can kind of lighten up a little bit. And by the time, you get to the youngest, in some ways, it's like mom and dad are like, all right, we're on to the next thing, done with the babies, on to that. Yeah. So like I felt like I got a lot of freedom, and like my parents really, whether it's they entrusted it to me or they were just like done, like ready to move on. No, I think they did, but I like to be the youngest. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
In some ways, it does get a interesting rap. Okay, cool. So you mentioned Olivia. So you guys moved here so she could go to MSOE and pursue a nursing degree. Yeah. What kind of nursing degree is that?
Just a general nursing degree. 2-year. It's an accelerated nursing degree. So she already had her undergraduate in sports
Got it.
science.
Okay.
And so she had most of the classes already taken care of. So it just took her 2 years at MSOE to kind of finish off that second degree.
Great. And what type of nursing has she done?
So she did work at the Frederick liver transplant ICU for a couple months. Knew it wasn't for her. It was pretty stressful for her. She had to work nights, 12-hour shifts. Yeah. It was a lot. So she just, at the beginning of this year, she transitioned to a prenatal care facility here in Milwaukee, where she sort of case manages women who are currently pregnant or postpartum, screens them for postpartum depression, equips them with knowledge that makes sure that they're following safe sleep practices and stuff like that. So more of an educator position that she in an area that she's actually passionate about. So
is she enjoying that?
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we have a lot of like medical people over the years in our church because we were 5 minutes from the medical college where we first started in Tosa. Number of nurses, and have kind of learned that ebb and flow of like finding a particular office with a certain rotation, and it's like, it can be really challenging. So I'm glad she's found something she enjoys.
Yeah,
that's great.
Super part-time though, so she only works a few hours a week.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, and so you and Olivia, you've been married for how long?
3 years.
3 years.
So we moved the day after we got married. We moved here to Milwaukee.
No kidding. Yeah. Wow.
We just packed up all the stuff in my little Chevy Cruze and
that's great.
Head over to downtown Milwaukee. It was great.
That's awesome. And children. Tell me the story with children.
One child, one girl. We think
pretty brand new.
Yeah, she's 4.5 months.
Wow.
So born July 6th. We think that she's, I don't know. I think she might be a redhead.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, are you kind of have some red in your hair? I like strawberry kind of thing.
I have all the colors of the hair.
All the colors.
I have some black. I have some blonde. I have some red. Yeah. My brother is a ginger, so it's pretty close in the family line.
I can see that. That's cool. Okay.
And she has really fair skin, and she has some sort of red highlights. So we don't know if it's going to sort of redden out over the course of a couple months. Maybe it'll stay kind of brownish, but
awesome. Her name?
Naomi June Matula.
Naomi June Matula. That's great. Did I tell you Dan Allen told me this joke about your last name? Did he tell you that?
Yeah, that's all he talks about. Yeah.
Oh boy, so you probably heard that a lot.
The spatula thing?
Yeah. I mean, his point was like, either your name should be Spatula or we should call them.
Or no.
Either your name should be Matula or we should call them Spatulas, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways. Okay. All right.
Because they're spelled the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. What are some of your interests? What do you and Olivia love to do?
Right now, we love coffee shops. We just love spending time together at coffee shops.
Are you like one of these highbrow kind of like you're really picky about your coffee kind of thing?
I think I think if I want a good cup of coffee, I know where to go.
Yeah.
And I want a very particular type of coffee, but
yeah.
I'm not like I drink your coffee.
Oh, no, whoa, zing! No, I told you it was Costco coffee.
Yeah, it's good.
But okay, so yes,
I'm not like a snob.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay. I like that. That's great.
Yeah.
But you do appreciate.
I do.
A good cup of coffee.
I do.
And you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Between a good cup of coffee and a bad one.
Yeah, my preferred method is the pour over method. So
okay.
I do that.
So what would you rate my French press coffee that I just gave you on a scale of 1 to 10?
Ooh, you're putting me on the spot here.
Yeah.
I would say it was probably I think middle of the line 5.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's not necessarily the French press. It's just the
beans.
Just the beans.
All that.
You know?
Yep. No, that's right.
My wife says that I ruined her because she used to drink Folgers and just like Aldi coffee.
That's right.
Now, if you drink Aldi coffee and you're listening to this, I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
Aldi coffee.
You can still be friends.
We can still be friends,
okay.
Right? But she now she all she wants is like this really expensive coffee, and so she blames me for that.
Yeah. I'm not super discerning when it comes to those things. To me, there is a bad cup of coffee and a good cup of coffee. I like not so dark roast. That's about all I know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do love coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you love going to coffee shops, hanging out.
Yeah. You play with the newborn. Our opportunities outside are sort of fewer now, but we like going for walks. Our favorite spot is the South Shore of Milwaukee. Just that trail, the Oak Leaf Trail there. And then we play an occasional board game.
Okay.
Together. We like
the really nerdy ones.
Oh, she's not. I like the nerdy ones.
I see.
She does not like the nerdy ones. So
okay.
She likes some good two-player games. So we play things like
Uno.
Okay. Not
Yeah, gotcha.
They're probably more nerdy than they're probably not games that you've heard of.
Okay.
But
so they are nerdy.
Not okay. I'll tell you. One is called Splendor, and then one is called Azul, and so it's more of like matching types of board games.
Is it like Monopoly level play, like that kind of thing? It's not super intense, like.
Yeah, definitely not. She does not like intense
and
board games.
They can be so complex, and it's like.
Yeah, I like complex board games. She likes really simple board games, and so
I'm with her.
Yeah,
I'm with Olivia on that one.
Yeah.
But we do have some members who would love to know that you love complex and dorky board games.
Yeah.
Do you ever do Dungeons and Dragons?
I have never done.
You've never done that?
No.
Because we've got some of those in our church.
No.
Some avid Dungeons and Dragoners. Okay. Great. Next, Nick, tell us how you came to faith in Christ. How did you become a Christian?
Yeah. So I think I officially accepted Christ when I was super young in Awana at church. I think I didn't really understand the implications of what that faith in Christ meant until I was in middle school, when I experienced a lot of just turmoil and just trying to. I think all kids just trying to find what their purpose is in life.
Sure.
And so that was something that I was working through in middle school, and my dad really helped me through that time in helping me realize that my identity is not in whether or not I'm the fastest kid in my class, or
Sure.
if I perform well in baseball, or if I'm as good as my siblings in school.
Mm-hmm.
He helped me find my identity in Christ, and I think that was sort of the launching pad for me to really understand what it means to be a follower of Christ. And my youth pastor at that time sort of took me under his wing and helped me learn more about the faith, which I was fascinated with. And so that was sort of the launching ground. And I think I can say at that point, that's when I was baptized in middle school, is when I kind of really realized what it meant to be a follower of Christ in its complete sense.
That's great.
Yeah.
So tell me about your relationship with your dad. That's kind of cool to hear that he kind of helped you walk through some of that. Like, are you still pretty close now?
Yeah, I think he's I think I still I view him as one of the most faithful godly men I know. So he was a big influence on me. Kind of a first generation Christian from his family. He became a Christian in high school. So there were obviously some things that being a first generation Christian that he probably could have improved upon and done better. But overall, I think it was very helpful for me to just even see my dad reading his Bible in the morning, and helping us understand what communion is and what baptism is. He took us, all of us kids, and spent like a number of weeks after church to explain what these things mean.
That's great.
And so I think I really appreciate him, and we get to just talk about biblical things all the time. So
that's great.
It is great having someone in my family who I can look up to in that regard.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, and it will serve you well, I think, in parenting too. Because
absolutely.
Now with our kids, who are at least the older two, 5 and 7, we did a baptism outside, and we have a horse trough, and we did one outside this summer. And my daughter Audrey came home asking when she could get baptized because it just looked like a big bathtub to her. So yeah, those conversations are neat to be able to look back on and see how your dad guided you through that, and sort of. I love that kind of thing in the church and discipling our kids, because what's so cool is they see these things happen in the service, right? And it is impactful. They're even grown adults. I've talked with newcomers who are just exploring the faith. It's a powerful thing to see someone be baptized. and more than that, to hear why. And so neat that you can draw on that in your childhood. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. And when and how did you decide to pursue pastoral ministry? And maybe just start with the when, like what was going on in your life at that time?
I think it's been a sort of a slow nudge in that direction ever since high school.
Sure.
Ever since I was beginning to learn more about the faith, I just really found myself wanting to, like, man, other people need to know this stuff.
Yeah.
And so really kind of feeling passionate about wanting to share that knowledge of just what Scripture is about, the overall redemptive story with people. But at that time, I sort of still had these dreams and aspirations of trying to kind of prove myself in the secular world of getting a degree. Sure. and making it in the business world. And so I kind of put that in the back of my mind. But through college, I sort of, in my involvement with InterVarsity, I think I kind of, that tug kind of got a little stronger. But after I graduated, I just didn't want to go back to school at all. And I just wanted to just try to make it in the geology world. And I think it wasn't until probably a couple months to a year into that position that I realized, man, I'm not fulfilled. I need to be doing something else. And I remember I just really spending a time in prayer of asking the Lord what He wants me to do. And I just really felt this tug towards full-time ministry, and I just didn't know how that was going to happen. There were so many barriers involved.
Sure.
But this is a conversation for another time. But God really just paved the way for that to happen. And so,
were you already married at this point?
No, I was not. I think that I sort of got that calling when I was dating Olivia.
Okay.
And
so it's something you kind of processed as a couple before stepping
correct,
into marriage.
Yeah, and she gave me the green light. I don't think she really knew what she was getting herself into.
Oh, we never do.
But it was a time where she really encouraged me to
That's
kind
great.
of pursue that. So, and she was able to affirm some of those gifts in me during that time.
That's great. Okay, and sort of pivoting from that to sort of the opposite direction than the future looking. As you consider long-term discernment for what pastoral ministry looks like, obviously we've discussed this role is designed to clarify some of that. I hope, at least. I imagine in a year or two's time, you'll have a much sharper, clearer answer. But at this point, if you were to fast forward 5-10 years, like what kind of a pastoral role do you see yourself in? What kind of ministry do you really hope to invest in?
Yeah, I think long-term, I still want to be in the local church. Like I said, I have a passion for the local church, and I think the type of role that I'd be interested in is, I think right now I'm really passionate about just slow discipleship of the people. A good book on this is just The Reformed Pastor by Baxter, who kind of talks about the need for just pastors to just care for the sheep on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really feel a strong pull to and desire to sort of develop over the time that I'm here. Hopefully I can continue to do that with the people at Redemption. So, and then also, even though I feel like I still have a long way to go, I do have a passion for word ministry as well, and
Preaching,
really
teaching.
trying to hone those skills. And I know I've really learned a lot from Dan Allen, especially in just the way that he exhorts the congregation and encourages them, and keeps he was just telling me the other day that he's continually learning as well, and developing and that skill for himself too. So
That's great.
That's something that I kind of envision myself kind of continuing to grow in over the course of.
Great brother to learn from.
Yeah, for sure.
I love Dan. I've been I've been so encouraged by our friendship, and we've had him come and guest preach a few times, and the congregation's just been really blessed by it. I think that whole really intentional pastoral heart that he has really does come through in his preaching. And so that's encouraging to hear that's a desire to continue to cultivate in yourself.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's see here. Okay, would love to talk a little bit more about this particular role, and most particularly what you're most excited about in stepping into this role with us at Redemption.
Yeah, I think maybe this wouldn't be exciting for everyone, but I think you guys just have a lot going on right now, and it's pretty complex. And I know you guys. It seems like you guys have a lot of need that perhaps that I can hopefully fill. And so even just being able to assist in you guys taking some load off you, Danny, and some of the other elders, and sort of just step in and hopefully. Take the load off you guys, just so that you guys can more direct yourselves towards the things that you're hoping to focus on, such as church planting within the next year and stuff like that. But I think, I do have a passion for the worship arts, and I think that I can just help with the coordination of those things there. But I'm also just, like I said a few minutes ago, I think I'm just really excited for the opportunity to hopefully just get to know another group of people and care for them. And so that's what I'm most excited for, I think.
Man, I like to say this to people new coming into Redemption, and because I sincerely mean it. But when you plant a church, you just really never know what God's going to do. You never know who God's going to bring. How is the culture going to take shape? And just as an encouragement to both you and Olivia coming in, like, God has just far surpassed our expectations, not just in terms of how the church has grown, but even specifically the quality of our friendships and relationships in this church. It's just an incredible blessing.
Yeah.
You know, it is the kind of church I would just be overjoyed to be a part of, whether I was a pastor of it or not. And so however you can kind of lean into that, that's, one question we'll talk about a little bit when we get to nuts and bolts here of like what's happening next. I want to ask you one more question before that, but we'll talk a little bit about how to do that. How can some members actually get to know you and Olivia well? So first, I want to ask, as you kind of get to know Redemption, what is one thing in particular you appreciate about the church so far, and one thing that seems new or different to you about Redemption, just based on prior church experience?
Yeah. I think we've talked about this a little bit before, Danny, already, but even just, I really appreciate just how loud everyone sings on a Sunday morning. I do appreciate that. I think that's different than what I've experienced in the past. And so that's, I think that's, singing is supposed to be an encouragement to the whole congregation, right? And so just hearing everyone articulate the same truths and belt it out is like, I'm not alone in what I'm singing here.
That's right.
We all believe the exact same thing, and I think that's
awesome.
That can just be a good ministry to the rest of the congregation, is just singing.
Yes. By the way, on that, I can't tell you how many times like I'll come in on a Sunday morning just exhausted, depleted. It's a hard, tiring week. Stepping into the sanctuary, that music starts to ring out, like everybody's attention is kind of focused, and I'm just like, oh man, I hope I have what it takes to do this well today. And then not but a few lines into the first song, my heart is just so blessed and so encouraged on a regular basis by that. And just a reminder of like exactly what you said. These are my people. I'm with Jesus and his people. We're here showing up, singing the good news of the gospel. And we're all really kind of playing an encouraging part in whatever it is that God's doing here. So I'm glad to hear that you noticed that. And it's something that we really pray God would continue to do over the years, just really loud, engaged singing. That's great.
Yeah, so that, and then I think another thing that's just a bit of a shock is just how big Redemption is at this point. I think Crossway has officially around probably just over 80 members right now.
Sure.
And so the jump to what you said, I think 170 members right now is a bit of a change for us. Something that we need to probably get used to. But I will say that I've just really appreciated just even the one time that we visited a couple weeks ago, just how warm and welcoming everyone was. Just trying to get to know us.
That's right.
And so we had a chance to talk to a handful of people, and we felt very welcome. And that I think that's one thing that we were worried about is Obviously, we had to say goodbye to a lot of our close friends at Crossway.
Absolutely.
And wondering, there's always this sneaking fear that perhaps you're never going to meet, people as close again. But I think we already, just one time that we visited, it kind of assured us that, that's not true.
Yeah.
Well,
a couple encouragements here. First, hang on to those sweet friendships you have at Crossway. We love those guys. I mean, it's just that church has been a huge blessing, and we count them a really close friend. And so to have that connection through you and Olivia is actually really meaningful to us. We want to continue that and cultivate it. But also second, I would say on the note of church size, one thing that's been really interesting is you're not the only one that feels new for, that we have 160, 170 members, whatever it is exactly right now. Really, when we bought the building, I think we had 90 or so members and services of about 100. And over the last year, that has been a significant change. And so we're kind of all feeling that in some way. And so you won't be alone in that. We are very familiar with the services of 80 to 100. And it's for most of us in our very recent memory. What's been interesting is the change and the pivot that requires for your engagement in the life of the church. So when you start a church, you got 30 people. Every single new person. Everyone in the room knows every new person who comes, because there they are right there. They weren't here last week. And what's changed, I think, is that we're kind of adjusting to this idea, and I'd love to process this a little bit, actually, where on one hand, we want to maintain the theological value, even the spiritual significance of meaningful membership. On the other hand, I think a lot of us have associated that value with knowing every single member in a personal and intimate way. And for a lot of reasons, it's just not possible. So I guess I'd love to process that a little bit, hear what you kind of think about that. But all that to say, one encouragement to you is just pace yourself with it. Take your time and just kind of walk in with a handful of members. I think there can be a pressure that we put on ourselves that we need to get to know everybody at a super intimate, deep level. That's just really not possible for anybody in a short window of time, right? And so give yourself some time and some grace with that. I would encourage the members to give you the same grace and time and patience. But any thoughts on that in terms of the juncture we're at in the life of our church in that way?
Yeah, it is. You guys are just at the cusp of that right now, and I think you guys probably will end up growing some more. So it's going to just become an increasingly bigger kind of thing that you guys need to wrestle through. And I think, in one sense, I think you're not going to know everyone. You'll have an opportunity to talk with everyone. That's one of the benefits of a single service, is that you're not totally separated from everyone.
That's right. There's the opportunity, but it takes time.
Yeah, and when you guys have all church functions, it's not like there's going to be strange people that you've never met before.
Sure.
So that's one of the just a shameless plug of single service.
Yeah.
But then also, I think the way that I look at this is just over the course of time needing more leaders in ministry to care for each individual. So I think it'll require some very careful planning and thinking about how are we going to raise leaders to sort of shepherd the amount of people that we have.
That's right. Yeah. And so this is what's the unique tension is, like, I think early on, every member of the church felt this healthy responsibility, I would even say, to really get to know every member. And I think what we're struggling with in some ways right now is just learning, growing pains, is how do we adjust to that not being the case, but still have every member meaningfully engaged in knowing and following Christ, even with new people. Like, right, you don't need to know every single new person, but we all still ought to have some category of investing in others, discipling others, serving in alongside of others in these things. And so those are some of the tensions. I think what you pointed out is right, and I think that's kind of where we've landed. Is it is primarily even the elders' responsibility to know everyone at least intimately enough to be able to affirm their profession of faith, recommend them to the congregation, and meaningfully sort of welcome them into the church and then care for them. So that's a unique change and puts a premium on the need to identify faithful men in the church who have that heart and capacity to know the whole congregation in that way. But there's now a little bit of a difference where the congregation, I think, is learning to trust the elders, have that under wraps. They're getting to know everybody well. But what still is my place? I guess is the kind of question of like of still getting to know new people, still engaging them. If not everybody, then who and how do I kind of figure that out? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think one of the missteps that the church has done in the past is gone towards programming as a means to just sort of blanket reach everyone.
That's right.
And unfortunately, it's just not. It's shown itself not to be very effective, and so that's where the kind of the exponential multiplication process sort of comes in. Is starting with just a small group of people who then meet with other small groups of people.
That's right.
Until the whole congregation is sort of develops this culture in which everyone is just in close relationship and discipling one another.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the model that it probably needs to eventually materialize if that's going to be effective.
Where we still have a culture of engaging others, making disciples, but we can all recognize our limitations of our capacity and not expect that to cover the whole scope of the whole congregation, but we can still labor together knowing that sort of there's this web,
this
right?
Network,
I might be really connected with these 4 or 5 people, and then they're connected with a few others. But all together, God's doing something bigger.
There is overlap between those networks.
That's right. That's good. That's super helpful. Well, and just to bring you into that, like, that is kind of a significant part of the ministry right now, and trying to step into that, grow into that, and feel more confident and comfortable that I think a lot of it is really good. It's a well-intentioned desire. We want to know every member. And so a lot of it I want to affirm, but that's definitely kind of the transitional period we're in. Mm-hmm. So that said, second to lastly, just tell me about some details and logistics here, nuts and bolts. When are you starting? When's your first staff meeting? And what's going to happen between now and then? How can we support you guys? All that.
So I think January 1st is our agreed upon start date.
Yep.
And
I don't think that's a Monday, though.
Is it a Monday? So then our first staff meeting would be that next Tuesday.
Let me check.
I think
staff. It's January 1st is a Monday. Staff meeting would be first is the Tuesday the 2nd.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be 9:00. By the way, now.
Okay.
9:00.
All right. Now everyone knows.
Now everyone knows. Staff meeting's at 9. If you want to come blow that up and come drop in and visit, please do.
Yeah.
We would love it. 9:00 Tuesday morning, January 2nd, 2024. And what needs to happen between now and then? Anything for you? You've kind of told Crossway, you've told your employer, Milwaukee Rescue Mission. How's that gone?
No, it went well. We Redemption has a close relationship with the Milwaukee Rescue Mission, and so does Crossway. So
that's great.
They were excited for me. A little sad to part ways, but like any ministry, like I think you're just overall should be encouraged when you have an opportunity to raise up leaders who then go other places. So
man, we'll be indebted to Crossway for some time, I imagine. So grateful for their work that they've done and kind of discipling you there. That's great.
Yeah.
Anything else? Where do you don't live super close to here? We talked a little bit about that. What are your thoughts on that? You live back towards Milwaukee, right?
We live southeast Milwaukee on Howard and 2nd Street.
Okay.
So that's kind of on the edge of Bayview.
Yeah.
Not quite. But yeah, I think that's where we're currently living now. And because it's now winter, it probably doesn't make sense to move now. But we're probably hoping to move to the western side of Milwaukee, perhaps in the spring.
Great.
Those plans are just tentative. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that would be kind of our plan because we want to be with and around and close to the people that we're doing ministry with.
And we do have some people that way, even West Dallas area. And absolutely. So that'd be great. That'd be great. And if and when you do find a place and have an opportunity, let's try and find a moving crew to help you out. We'll try and make that as smooth as we can. Yeah. I know how that can go moving especially with young ones.
Yeah.
Great. Last thing, just the typical standard interview procedure. Do you have any questions for me, Nick?
Should have come.
You're supposed to, right? I mean, that's what they say.
Should have come more prepared.
I know this wasn't quite like a job interview either, so
yeah, I think I did come. I did come with some questions.
You had some great ones.
Yeah.
I've got one for you. What kind of computer do you want?
Oh, I get a computer?
You're getting a computer, yeah.
Okay.
Are you a computer guy?
We
should have talked about this.
Yeah,
We already
I'm a
hired you. I don't
computer
even know.
guy. Yeah.
You are a computer guy.
Yeah.
That's great.
I built my own computer back in the day.
So let's just whip one up then. Let's go.
No, I don't. That was back. I sold that.
Okay.
I'm more of a neat, sleek, performance-based kind of computer guy now. Yeah, laptop. I don't know. I think in the past I've been really resistant to Apple just because once you join the Apple family, they make you feel like you got to have everything Apple.
I used to work there.
Kinda
I used to
suck
work
you
for
in.
Apple.
Oh, you did?
Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah. And in college, I worked at the Apple store.
Oh.
And I always tell people, like, being on the inside, it is like a cult. I mean,
Yeah.
Apple's like a cult, but it's a really cool cult. Excuse me. Anyways,
but
so we don't think we can't convert you to Apple.
I'm not saying it can't be done.
Okay.
I'm just saying that right now I don't know. There's probably a lot of reasons. I think I've just been holding out just because I'm stubborn and just trying not to.
Yeah.
I just want to do something different. I don't know.
Well, you think about that.
Yeah, I will.
And send me some links. We'll get that ordered.
Okay.
But I'm excited to get you a computer, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Sweet. All right. Any last things you want the congregation to hear or know about you?
I don't know. I think we're just looking forward to how we will get to know everyone. I think it'll be difficult, especially with our newborn, for us to kind of have an opportunity to go visit and meet with everyone in the
Sure.
congregation. And so I think Olivia and I were talking about this, and just I think what it might look like is hopefully I can spend some time during my work hours just to go and spend time with families on my own, even though Olivia won't be a part of it.
Sure.
And then hopefully over the course of some time, you guys can sort of get to know Olivia on a one-to-one basis a little bit more, just because the dynamics with having a small child is just difficult. But
I was actually at a pastor's retreat recently and talked with a guy who just started at a church, and he told me they did like a meal train, but it was designed for like inviting a couple over to families' houses in the church.
That's cool.
I mean, so I know it can be challenging with infant, and trying to coordinate that. So talk with Olivia, that she might like think that's a terrible idea, and if she does, that's totally fine. Mm-hmm. But if there's anything creative like that we could do, I know our church would. I would. Be
you're
all for
saying
it. Like
as
there's
far
a meal train.
as
Like
they come over to like our house.
No, you wouldn't have to host.
Okay.
So basically, it's like a sign up for a meal train, but to sign up is to sign up to host you guys.
Oh, I see.
And then they would do some kind of meal, whatever it would be, and then you could just pop over and then spend some time at their houses. Yeah. What? Again, I'm not obligating you to that.
Yeah.
But if you think it would be valuable, I think it'd be great, and I know people would jump on the chance to do that. So
yeah,
we'll talk about it.
We're excited.
That's great.
I'm really excited to know Olivia's too. So
that's awesome, man.
We're just waiting for January 1st.
Awesome. Yeah, likewise. We are too. Really grateful, very encouraged, and looking forward to getting to know you guys more and more. So would you maybe close us out? Would you pray for us?
Yeah, for sure.
Please.
Dear Lord, this is such an exciting time where we get to join an existing and phenomenal ministry that you have been working through redemption. And so we're just honored to be able to have an opportunity to partake in that. And through that, we know that there's a lot of things going on that just need just complete dependence and prayer for you to have a hand on it to make it work. Right? We're all people who have, quite frankly, terrible ideas, and we're terrible at carrying out our terrible ideas. And so we just want to be people who are dependent on your power alone to make the glory of your kingdom shine here on earth. And so we pray that we're able to do that, and pray for our Olivia and I's transition to this new body of believers, even though it comes at sort of a kind of a sadness to leaving our current church, but we know that we'll be welcomed with open arms at redemption. So we're praying for that transition come January, and that you would just be able to bless this ministry that you've already begun in redemption. We pray all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Nick. Yeah. Appreciate it.